Just didn't like the delay to timed out. Okay. And over here we have, we had the Pledge of Allegiance ready. Oh, there it is. It's odd working with this little screen here. Hey. George and pictures are all tab. You might be able to get to the slide screen.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay. Oh, I'm very short. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening for our August meeting of the Creve Coeur and Maryland Heights Townships. My name is Sydney. I am the president and committee woman for the Creve Coeur Township. And here with me, I have Harvey Ferdman, who is the president of the Maryland Heights Township. If you all wouldn't mind joining me in the pledge, that would be great. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. So first, we'll start with any elected officials that we have here with us. If you want to, if you're in the room, just feel free to stand up, let us know who you are, or if we have any on Zoom, feel free to unmute yourself and share with us your name and your elected office. Go ahead, LaDonna.
Hello, this is State Representative LaDonna Applebaum, and it's really good to see everybody here tonight, and I'm excited to learn from our new Democratic Director of Missouri. Yes, very excited about that. But I do just want to take a brief second to say, yes, I'm running for my 4th term, and my campaign kickoff for my 4th term will be on September 28th at the Post Sports Bar and Grill. And I'll put the information in the chat, but I just wanted to tell everyone that you're invited, and I'd love to see you there. It's at least 6 to 8, and we'll have fun, have a good time. So anyway, thanks for everyone being on this call tonight. I hope everyone is staying cool. I have spent the majority of my day in my basement, so I don't have to go out into the swamp. So anyway, have a good night. I'll be on here if anyone has any questions.
Awesome. Any other elected officials want to introduce yourself? Okay. Seeing none, I'm going to move into announcements. So I have a couple of announcements for you all. The first is I don't know if you all can see that, but so Lucas Kuntz, who is running for state representative, is having a rally to defeat Josh Hawley at the District 9 Machinist Hall at 6 p.m. on August 28th. Thank you so much. And this event is being held with the Missouri AFL-CIO, the Missouri Firefighters, the Missouri Machinists, St. Louis County Council Chair Shalonda Webb, and more. So if you are interested in that, you can RSVP at lucaskuntz.com/rally. And I'm gonna stop that one. And then the other announcement that I have is that County Executive Sam Page is hosting his annual golf tournament on Tuesday, October 3rd at the Quarry at Crystal Springs, which is here in Maryland Heights. And he is looking for volunteers for that event. So if you are interested, let me know. You can put it in the chat, and I will connect you if you are interested. Does anyone else have any announcements for the group? Yes, go ahead.
I'm definitely will be our guest speaker, just Township.
Democrats meeting on September 12th, which is the EMS protection.
Okay, awesome. I'm just going to repeat it just in case you guys didn't hear. Wesley Bell is going to be the speaker at the Chesterfield Township Democrats Club meeting on September 12th at 7 p.m. at the EMS Fire Protection on Henry Road. Any other announcements? Okay, seeing none. Oh, yes, go ahead.
Sorry. Hi, this is Cheryl Rose. Somebody told me that Crystal Quayle was having a rally or something on August 30th. Does anybody know if that's true? Or anything about that? No.
I don't off the top of my head, but if
Okay.
nobody else knows, I can investigate.
All right.
He's coming to St. Louis. Give me just a couple of minutes and let me research and I'll be back.
Awesome. Any other announcements? Okay. Seeing no other announcements, I'm going to turn the meeting over to our speaker for the evening. Or do you want to introduce our speaker? Okay, so our speaker for this evening is the current chairman of the Missouri Democratic Party and former U.S. Congressman Russ Carnahan. So I'm going to turn it over to him to give us an update on the Missouri Democratic Party. Yes.
Great, thank you. Sydney and Harvey, thank you for your leadership of the township organizations and all of you for being involved. We are gearing up for what is going to be a very, very critical year for our state and our country. So we've got work to do. I became the chairman of the State Democratic Party in March. It wasn't something I was looking for, but it kind of found me. And so I have to admit, I started off a little skeptical about how things would go, but I talked to a lot of friends, a lot of leaders in the state, and got great feedback. And people said they would work with me and work with the party to rebuild and make it stronger. I even had Republican friends of mine tell me the only way the state was going to get better is if the Democratic Party got stronger and pushed out the worst of the extremists in the Republican Party. So I come at this position kind of humbled for being chosen, but also realizing this is about rebuilding, and knowing what all of us know, that Missouri has always been better when we've had strong Democratic leaders. And one of the things I thought about when evaluating the party and the state of our politics in Missouri, I thought about, everybody knows Democrats are in kind of a hard place in recent years, to put it mildly, with, losing all of our statewide elected officials, having super minorities in the state legislature. That's tough. But I thought about what are our assets? And I was really pleased as I thought about, the more I thought about this, the more optimistic I became. First, we've got some fantastic current and former Democratic leaders in this state that have amazing records of accomplishment. We've got, one of our great representatives on the call with us here that well, but we've got a great record of success in this state to be proud of, accomplishments to be proud of, and we need to remember that. The other thing we have, we've got an amazing new generation of young people stepping up, energized about making our country and our state better. They have more at stake than all of us. And they're highly motivated. You may have seen an article recently in the Washington Post by prominent pollster, Linda Lake, writing about the Gen Z voters, and how they're not really so much motivated by political parties, but they're very, very motivated by policies and ideas. And so if you're talking about, you know, choice or climate, you know, things that really drive those voters, they're energized. So that's a great asset for us. The other asset, if you can call it that, strangely, is the unpopular ideas of Republicans. Frankly, they've been doing a lot of the work for us. You know, we can make a list of probably 10 or more top issues that people care about. Democrats are on the right side and Republicans are on the wrong side. And, you know, they keep coming up with the, you know, dumber and more backward idea just about every day. So, you know, from Secretary of State Ashcroft, you know, putting out, you know, restrictions on libraries, you know, to awful ideas about ending the initiative petition process in our state, or making it harder to vote, you know, taking away women's choice. You know, the other great Ashcroft idea lately was to put severe restrictions on investors that want to invest in environment and sustainability investments. So they just, you know, one backward idea after another is coming out of the Republican Party, and people are getting tired of it. The other strange thing that's hard to call an asset, and that's Josh Hawley. He is the most unpopular senator in the country that's up for re-election. He's going to be leading the Republican ballot. He's underwater in his polling. He has higher negatives than positives, and we've got great candidates to run against him. The other thing we've done related to that is, it occurred to me early on that in all of our lifetimes, we've never seen a political villain of Josh Hawley's national notoriety, ever. And there are great people in every state in this country that I think will give to Missouri Democrats to help us fire Josh Hawley. That, I think, is our #1 job in Missouri, to help our state and our country. And so we did a nationwide search for the top Democratic digital fundraising firms in the country, interviewed them. We picked one this past June, and they have been building our in-state and national donor list, and they have been raising small dollar donations from all over Missouri and all over the country. And we think we have the ability to continue to grow that the closer we get to the election, to where that can be a really substantial asset for rebuilding the Democratic Party and the infrastructure needed to elect our candidates. Very excited about that. The other area where we have, I think, is an asset, but is also a challenge, and that is the voter registration gap. In some of our highest Democratic performing areas in the state, we have some of the lowest turnout. And we have people in Missouri that are not registered, that if we get them on the playing field, it will change the political dynamic in our state. And the statistic that drives me crazy is, in 2020, Donald Trump, we all know, painfully carried Missouri by 15 points. But guess what? There are more non-voters in Missouri than voted for Donald Trump in the last presidential election. So there are some really unique strategies to be able to target those non-voters in Missouri, to get them on the playing field. Other states that have turned the corner politically have done this successfully, and there are serious efforts underway for some of the best voter registration efforts in Missouri that we've ever seen. So that can really help change the dynamic in Missouri. We've also had some great candidate recruitment going on in targeted state Senate, state House races, and statewide. And we're not just making this stuff up. You know, we're looking at some of the best practices in other states. And we've seen other states do this and turn things around. Look at Kansas. We used to always think Missouri was better than Kansas politically. They've elected and reelected a female Democratic governor. They pushed back against the abortion referendum there and won that. Look at Wisconsin, Supreme Court candidate there that won. They had record turnout of women and young people and won that election, critical election in Wisconsin. And of course, we have to all talk about Georgia. We wouldn't have a Democratic president or a Democratic Senate today if Georgia had not turned the corner. And they did that by smart, early voter registration and targeting to change the dynamic in their state and made it competitive. And so we can do this in Missouri. I know we can do it, and we're laying the foundation to be able to do it. I want to share with you also some special events that are coming up that I want you to know about. First, we have a rare opportunity in that the Democratic National Committee is having their fall meeting in St. Louis. We're hosting the National Committee in St. Louis, October 4 through 7 this year. It's their fall meeting. It's their last in-person meeting before the Democratic Convention in Chicago next year. So we're thrilled to have them here, number one. Number two, I'm told that the president has not missed a DNC meeting since he's been president. So we're hoping he will keep his streak. We probably won't know until up close to the event, but we're going to do everything we can to have a really successful national meeting here in St. Louis. And hopefully we'll get some of our top leaders in the country here that we'll get to see while they're visiting St. Louis. And related to that, I put in the chat, we just got this, there's a link DNC has provided to us. I think they're going to need upwards of, I'm told, 100 or so volunteers over the course of the meeting for various events. And so please take a look at that link. Please share it with your Democratic members in your club to help us get the volunteers that the DNC needs while they're here. In conjunction with that, as you know, every fall about that time, we've held our annual Truman Dinner. This is the biggest fundraiser for the state party every year. So what we've done, we have combined these things. We're going to have a big welcome reception that evening of Wednesday, October 4th, for the people that have come in from out of town, and have the Missouri people join that. And that will be followed by our annual Truman Dinner. We've already gotten commitments from the Democratic National Committee Chair, Jamie Harrison of South Carolina, to be one of our speakers. And we also have a tentative agreement from Clifton Truman Daniel, who's Harry Truman's grandson, to be there with us as well. And we have an opportunity to have a number of other nationally prominent speakers to join us during the course of those meetings. So very excited about that, and you should be getting more information out that you can share about those events. And then also, as you know, next August is the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. We are preparing delegate selection and rules process. It's been delayed. LaDonna can probably painfully report on this because of Republicans and their mismanagement of government. We are returning, we're the only state, I think, in the country who has ever changed from a presidential primary back to an old-fashioned caucus. So we are stuck with the old-fashioned caucus for our presidential selection. We're working on that. We are hoping that as part of that process, we haven't finalized this, but I'm sharing a preview with you. We're hoping that as part of this party-run primary, that we'll also be able to incorporate a mail-in ballot as part of that for people that can't personally come to a meeting and to increase our participation. So stay tuned for that. But we'll also be having then that party selection process for delegates at the local level, congressional district level, and then at our state convention. So stay tuned for that. Very important process. And I'm going to just hold it at that and throw it open for questions. I just wanted to give you an overview of some of the things we're working on, why I am very optimistic about the groundwork we're laying for 2024. And hopefully this has given you some ideas on how you can be involved. So Sydney and Harvey, I'm happy to take questions.
Okay. Are there any questions? I don't see any questions in the chat. People were just kind of throwing in some information about events. Are there any questions for our party chair? Oh,
Question.
I see you should.
I
Yes,
have a
go ahead.
Question, Judy Campbell, Ross, do we know how many people are expected to attend the National Democratic Convention or the one that's being held here in St. Louis in October?
Yeah, and of course, that's not a convention. That's just
Yeah.
a fall meeting
Right.
of the Democratic National Committee. I'm told that the top number of that between the DNC members, guests, some vendors, and the state party chairs and staff, somewhere around 1,000 people.
Okay.
Awesome.
And let's see, I see Cheryl, got your hand up?
Yeah, yes. I was wondering what are we doing, or is the party doing in outstate Missouri? Is there a specific plan, campaign going on to get those voters engaged?
I'm glad you asked. You know, I grew up in rural Missouri, and the congressional district I represented for 8 years was, you know, part rural and part urban. So it's something I know is really important. And frankly, one of the issues we have statewide is just how lopsided the voting has become in rural Missouri. And in many of our rural counties, we have few or zero Democratic elected officials. Some have not even organized their Democratic committees, don't have any active Democratic clubs, and they get one-sided news from Fox. So we lack infrastructure in those areas. We'd have a very active rural caucus. They have monthly calls. They've done some key town hall meetings around the state to target their messaging. And we're also working on candidate recruitment. In many of those areas, people don't even have a Democratic choice. And so it's a combination of finding those common ground issues that urban and rural areas have, looking at those unique issues and types of messages that are important in rural Missouri, and finding candidates that can be alternatives. So we're doing a combination of all those things, but it's a really important part of our overall statewide strategy.
Thank you.
Sure. Let's see, that's Sandra Murdoch.
Yes, Russ, glad to have you on. How strong is the Democratic Party's fight in the state of Missouri against Josh Hawley? What's our chances of really getting that seat in the Senate?
You know, I really think we have a good chance. Like I said, he's the most unpopular senator running for re-election in the country. His negative ratings are higher than is positive. And, you know, he says and does the craziest stuff you can imagine. You can't make this stuff up, the crazy stuff he says. One of the most recent was some reporter asking him at the state fair this past week about what he thought about abortion. And a guy who's done everything possible to take away women's rights. He said, did you all see this? He said, well, we should leave that up to the voters. You know, the guy just doesn't have a backbone in his body. And so we have some very strong candidates. So I'm very optimistic that we can do that. And I think we'll get a lot of national support to do that. So go to Representative Applebaum.
Because I love the Missouri House Democrats Campaign Committee, and I would like for us maybe to talk a little bit more about it so people understand that the HDCC, we are actually trying to get more rural voters through that campaign, and we're also trying to recruit candidates. And I know that you were one of the first people to come up with this plan, and now our lady from Green, trying to be our next governor, she took that plan and has really run with it. And I think it's done an amazing job. And I'm so proud that she's done it. But I'd like to hear more from you. Maybe you are like the professor of the can explain things so well. So maybe just share a little bit about that with us.
Sure. Yeah, one of the things, it was after the 2018 election that we were looking what other states were doing, and many states use as their sort of statewide organizing unit their state house districts. And one of the benefits of doing that is that it's a permanent structure within your party. And, you know, we have incumbents, you know, they have active political organizations, they've got a caucus organization, you know, they're right on the front lines in the legislature to message about what Democrats are fighting for and what they're fighting to stop in the Republican crazy agenda. We think by having this network of incumbents and candidates, it can really be an effective network that can be out there knocking on doors. You know, it's a small enough area, you know, that you can personally cover it and really build that messaging in the network in those districts. And as opposed to what we've seen in some past years with, you know, so-called coordinated campaigns, you know, where staffers may come in from around the country and there's a temporary office here and they come in and they, you know, have this flurry of activity and they leave and they're gone. And so it's not a very sustainable or smart way to have ongoing organization. And I'm a big proponent, as LaDonna knows, to use those legislative districts for that messaging, for that grassroots activity. I think that will be more effective in this election cycle, also more effective, you know, in the future if we keep that network going. So anyway, LaDonna, thank you for mentioning that.
I love that because what to me, I mean, someone's going to put their heart and soul out there to run for office and they may know that they won't get elected. But however, those, you know, 4,000 votes that person may get, they lift at the top of the ticket. And that's what I really want people to know, is that we're trying to grow Missouri ground up, not trickle down.
Yeah. And some of those rural districts that are really tough, you know, they still deserve to have a local leader stand up and give people an alternative. And that's part of what we've got to do that's going to help bring in more votes in those districts and make a difference statewide.
Thank you.
Let's see, I see Nancy Price. Nancy.
Excuse me, yes. Do you have any information on the presidential caucuses? Since that's a like new thing here, or at least recently. And would you have to be a registered Democrat to be part of the Democratic caucus?
We have been a strange state when it comes to voter registration. We've never had party voter registration in Missouri, which has meant, you know, any registered voter, no matter what your voting history or your ideology, could show up. I mean, just like when you walked into a primary election, you could, you know, they ask you which ballot do you want. You know, there's no registration. And apparently in one of the recent election reform bills, there is a provision for, and I'm not really even sure how practical this is. Well, Donna, maybe you can explain it better, but for that voter party registration is optional based on the election authority now, which I don't really know how that's going to work. But the bottom line is, you know, pretty much anybody can show up at one of our meetings and participate in the caucus.
The answer to the question about voter registration is the new voter registration forms, which are being allowed to trickle in. They're just printing the latest version. They do ask you if you want to be a Republican or a Democrat or an independent. And if you don't say a party, you get booked in as an independent.
Right.
And that was, I think that was part of 1848, but they just never. So people, the reason I'm asking is because people that have been not registered as a Democrat, I don't want them to not be able to attend.
Right. And that's part of what we're going to be working on, is really the voter education piece of this, because it's going to be a little confusing to obviously let people know if they want to attend a meeting in person, they can go there and attend the caucus. And we're also working on an option where if people can't go or choose not to attend, you know, maybe they're traveling, maybe they have a disability, maybe they're a veteran, you know, that they can do a ballot by mail. So we're trying to figure out a way to do that option. So again, we'll get more participation, and will be a little bit better process than just what the legislature led by the Republicans has stuck us with.
I think that's really excellent, and I'm glad to hear that, because that's one of the issues for me with caucuses is they're exclusionary and who can be there and on that particular time. So I'm glad that you're working on absentee. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
It looks like we have a couple of questions in the chat as well. So Ellen Wentz asked, is the Missouri Democratic Party familiar with Anna Schenker Osario's messaging techniques?
The Democratic Party might be, but I'm not. So you have to inform me or send me something.
Okay.
But we are,
And then
just to be clear, I'm joking a little bit here, but we really are studying very carefully messaging. We had a briefing by Celinda Lake, as I mentioned, really prominent Democratic pollster. She's also going to be briefing at our state committee meeting this Saturday. So we're going to be very focused on messaging not just what are the best messages and most powerful messages to Missouri voters, but also then, how best to deliver those. So again, we're trying to be smart. We want to be able to get our candidates that are out there and volunteers that are out there armed, with those best messages, so we can really, make the biggest impact on voters.
Awesome. And then Cheryl and Brian Fogarty asked, do you have anyone in mind to run against Ann Wagner?
I don't have a particular candidate right now, but be open to ideas.
Okay. And then Cheryl asks, is the caucus only for presidential elections?
Yes.
Great. Any other questions?
If not, I would just encourage you all, if you haven't already done this, please go to MissouriDems.org and sign up to get our weekly newsletter. We've got a great team putting together news and information about key issues, key events, and it's just a great way to keep in touch, share that with folks. So please take a look at that. And we hope you can join us at the Truman Day, and hope some of you can help out as volunteers.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much,
Yeah.
Chairman Carnahan, for being here with us.
One more last thing.
Yes,
Go
ahead.
Thank you, Chairman Carnahan, very much. Appreciate it. I have one more announcement. Our state representative here, and I'm sorry I don't have this in a little better format to show you, is being honored. Oh, maybe I'll have to do this a little differently. She is being honored by the Great Rivers Law Firm for her contribution to environmental movement and progress within the state of Missouri and the legislature. That would be Paula Brown. We're very proud of her for her contribution, and they're having her as one of the honorees at their annual fundraiser. I will get that website open here in just a moment. Should be a very good event. They are a great group, as many of you know. I've worked on the landfill issue and the other nuclear contamination in the area for years, and they've been extremely supportive and helpful. Let's see, I do have it in a position where I can share that screen. There we go. So Great Rivers Environmental Law Center, and if anyone's interested, you can go to their website and get more information. And let's get this bar out of the way. There we go. It's going to be at the World's Fair Pavilion, which should be a very interesting place to have an event. So there's a reception and then an awards party. And I strongly recommend it. Again, honoring one of the honorees is our own state representative. Whoops. Okay. I gotta shut that down. Okay. I think we just shut off the recording, but that's okay. Getting a little feedback there. Okay. So for the rest of the meeting, if people are interested, we can just have an open forum, just an open discussion, which might be nice if anyone has any topics they wish to bring up. Now would be a great time to do that. Anything
Harvey, I'm going to sign off, and again, just thank you all for your leadership and all of you for what you're doing. And we look forward to working with you all in the months ahead. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us today.
Take care.
Okay, and I will make sure that the recording is stopped and we will have our own just internal discussion here. Let's see, give me a moment.